Eva was still at the window when her phone rang. Not Chuan. Not a number she recognized. A Seoul area code she had never seen before. 11 digits, no contact name, just the numbers sitting on her screen like a question she hadn't asked. She stared at it for exactly 3 seconds. Then she answered. Miss Jones. The voice was male. Korean. Unhurried in the specific way of someone who had never once needed to rush, because the world had always waited for him. I think it is time we spoke directly. Don't you? Eva's eyes were still on the black car below. The figure on the pavement had not moved. The engine was still running. Who is this? She said. A pause that was not uncertainty, it was theater. The pause of a man who enjoyed being the one with the answer. My name is Baek Jun-ho, he said. And I believe you received my card this morning. Welcome to Black Silk Stories, the home of Afro-Korean stories that hit different. Subscribe, drop a comment, and do not go anywhere. This is only the beginning. Eva did not move, did not step back from the window, did not let her voice shift by a single degree. I received it, she said. Good. Another pause. I want you to know, Eva, may I call you Eva? That I have no interest in making this difficult for you. You are a child who has just lost her mother. I have tremendous respect for what Amelia built. Tremendous respect. The word landed softly, carefully, the kind of careful that meant it had been placed there deliberately. I simply want what was always mine. My mother didn't leave you anything, Eva said. A sound, not quite a laugh. Something adjacent to amusement. Your mother was a remarkable woman, but she made one mistake. When she left our arrangement, she took something that did not belong to her. I have been very patient about that. 12 years is a long time to be patient, Eva. What do you want? The USB drive, he said simply. That is all. You give me the drive and I walk away from everything. The legal structures dissolve. The estate processes normally. You keep every single thing your mother built. You have my word. Eva looked at the black car below. The figure on the pavement. The two in the front seats. Your word, she repeated. Yes. You sent 3 men to park outside a building where an 11-year-old girl lives alone, Eva said. And you're offering me your word. The silence this time was different. Shorter. Recalibrating. They are simply there to ensure our conversation remains private, Beck said smoothly. Nothing more. I'd like them to leave. Of course. The moment we reach an understanding. We don't have an understanding, Eva said. We have a phone call. And I need to go. Eva. Thank you for calling, Mr. Beck. She ended the call. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the window glass and made them stop through sheer force of the thing her mother had given her. The specific spine that came from watching Amelia Jones walk into rooms that weren't ready for her and walk out having rearranged everything in them. She picked up her phone and called Chi-won. One ring. Eva. He called me, she said. Baek Jun-ho. Direct call. Seoul number. He wants the USB drive. He said give it to him and he walks away from everything. Complete silence. Chi-won. I'm here. I'm thinking. His voice was controlled but she could hear something moving underneath it. Something that was almost anger but had been disciplined into focus. How did he get your direct number? She hadn't thought of that. It landed in her chest like cold water. I don't know, she said quietly. He has someone close to you, Eva. Someone with access to your personal information. A pause. Think. Who has your number that shouldn't? She thought about the apartment. The people who had moved through it yesterday. The legal team. Miss Park with her dark green notebook. Mr. Seo in his gray suit measuring her from across the room. Mr. Seo, she said. He was in the apartment all day. He was close to everything, my mother's desk, the hallway, the study door. I'll tell my father. Don't answer any more unknown Seoul numbers. If he calls again, let it ring and tell me immediately. A beat. Eva. The fact that he called you directly, that's important. Why? Because it means he is not as certain as he wants you to think he is. If he had another way to get that drive, he would not be calling an 11-year-old girl and asking politely. His voice was precise and quiet. He needs you to give it to him, which means you have something he cannot simply take. Eva exhaled slowly. That's why the car is outside. He can't come in. Not yet. And my father is making sure he never does. A pause. How are you? The question landed differently from him than it did from anyone else. Not performed. Not obligatory. Just direct and real and wanting an actual answer. I'm scared, she said honestly. But I'm okay. Those two things can exist at the same time, Chi-won said. My father says fear is just information. Tells you where the danger is. The problem is only when you let it make your decisions. Your father says a lot of things. He has had a lot of time to think about them. The corner of his voice moved. The place where the almost smile lived. Get away from the window. Don't let them see you watching. She stepped back. Chi-won. He knew my number. I know. He knew my mother was sick before she told anyone. I know. He has people everywhere. She sat down on the edge of her bed, braids loose around her shoulders, wearing a soft rust orange knit top and deep forest green wide-leg trousers, the first thing she had reached for that morning without thinking, and now they felt like armor somehow. How do I know who to trust in this apartment? Right now? Debbie. Only Debbie. A pause. And me. And you, she said quietly. Always me. No hesitation. Get the USB drive from the study. Put it somewhere on your body, not in a bag, not in a drawer. On you. Don't let it leave your person. Okay. And Eva Jian-han. Call her now. Not later. Now. Use the number my father sent through last night. Okay. I'll call you in an hour. The line closed. Eva sat for a moment in the quiet of her purple room. Outside the window, the one that didn't face the street, the Los Angeles morning was doing its usual brilliant indifferent thing. Blue sky. Clean light. The city moving through its day without caring about any particular person in it. She stood up, smoothed her rust orange top, straightened her forest green trousers. Then she walked back to the study to get the drive. Jian-han picked up on the second ring. Eva Jones, the woman said immediately, not a question, a recognition. Her English was precise and warm, Korean accent underneath it. I have been waiting for your call since yesterday morning. Eva stopped. You knew. Your mother called me 3 weeks ago. She told me that if anything happened you would call. She gave me your number. A pause. I am so deeply sorry about Amelia. She was one of the most extraordinary women I have ever had the privilege of knowing. Eva sat down in her mother's chair at her mother's desk. The study smelled like sandalwood. The drive was in the small pocket of her forest green trousers, pressed against her hip. Ms. Han, she said. How much did my mother tell you? Everything, Jian said simply. Baek Jun-ho. The arrangement. What she took when she left. The documentation. A breath. Eva, your mother spent the last 8 months building a legal structure specifically designed to protect you and the company in the event that he moved. She was thorough. She was always thorough. Mercer and Associates, Eva said. Ms. Park. Mr. Seo. All Beck's people. Yes. Jian's voice was steady and certain. None of the documents they present to you have any legal standing. Your mother's actual estate structure is already in place and it is airtight. They cannot touch the company. What they want is that drive. He called me this morning, Eva said. Baek Jun-ho. Directly. A brief silence. What did he say? He wants the drive. He said give it to him and he walks away from everything. He won't, Jian said flatly. That drive contains enough to dismantle everything he has built for 30 years. He will never stop coming for it. Giving it to him doesn't end this. It simply removes the only leverage you have. So what do I do with it? You don't use it alone, Jian said. There is a process. There are people who need to receive what is on that drive in the right way through the right channels. Your mother knew that. She documented everything specifically so that it could be used properly, not just as a threat but as a conclusion. A pause. I have been in contact with someone who can make that happen. Someone your mother trusted. Eve already knew. Chul Soon Kwan. Another silence. Longer. Your mother was more thorough than even I knew, Jian said quietly. Yes. He and I spoke this morning. We are aligned. A breath. Eva, I need you to do something very important today. Can you do that? Yes. I need you to act completely normally. If Miss Park or anyone from that group contacts you, be polite. Be cooperative in tone. Sign nothing, agree to nothing, but give them no reason to escalate. Her voice was careful and precise. Can you do that? My mother trained me to do exactly that, Eva said. Jian was quiet for a moment. Yes, she said softly. She did. A pause that carried something that sounded like grief wearing a professional coat. I will be in Los Angeles by tonight. We will meet tomorrow morning. Until then, stay inside. Keep the drive on you. Ms. Han. Yes. The black car outside my building. 3 men. I know about the car, Jian said. It will be gone within the hour. Eva looked toward the hallway window, the one that faced the street. How? Because, Jian said, and Eva could hear something in her voice that was not quite a smile but was the sound adjacent to one. The sound of someone who knew exactly what was about to happen. Chul Soon Kwan is not a man who leaves children unprotected. The line closed. Eva sat in her mother's chair for a long moment. The study held its breath around her. The sandalwood. The books. The closed panel behind which the safe sat locked and exact. She pressed her hand flat on her mother's desk. The same desk Amelia had sat behind 1,000 mornings, building something from nothing, facing forward always toward Eva. Okay, Mom, she said quietly. Your people are showing up. She stood, walked to the hallway window. The black car was still there. She watched it. 11 minutes later, a second car appeared at the end of the street. Dark navy. Moving slowly. It parked at the opposite end of the block. 2 figures got out, large, unhurried, wearing plain dark clothing. They did not look at the black car. They simply stood at either end of the pavement and were present in the specific way of people who needed no introduction to make their point. The black car's engine cut. For a long moment nothing moved. Then the black car pulled away from the curb and drove to the end of the street and turned and was gone. Eva exhaled. Her phone lit up. Chun, they're gone. She smiled, small, brief, real. The first smile since 6:09 2 days ago. Eva, I saw. Chun, my father says good morning. She laughed. Actually laughed. Quiet and sudden and completely unplanned. Eva, tell him good morning back. She put the phone in her pocket beside the drive. Went to find Debbie. Let herself, for exactly the length of the walk down the hallway, feel something that was not grief and not fear. Something that felt carefully and tentatively, like the beginning of not being alone. By midday the apartment felt different. Not safe. Eva was too careful for that word. Too much her mother's daughter to confuse the absence of immediate danger with actual safety. But different. The particular held-breath quality of the morning had released by a degree. Nova had emerged from the guest room looking wrecked but functional and had made herself useful for the first time by intercepting a call from Miss Park and telling her, completely without knowing what she was doing, that Eva was unavailable and resting and would not be taking meetings today. Eva had heard it from the hallway and felt a rush of something that was almost affection for her dramatic, useless, accidentally perfect cousin. Debbie had made lunch. Proper lunch, jollof rice, fried plantain, the specific meal she made whenever things were serious because, as she had told Eva once, serious things deserved serious food. They sat at the kitchen island together, Eva, Debbie, and Nova, and for 40 minutes they talked about Amelia. Not the estate. Not the lawyers. Not the envelopes or the cars or the men in gray suits. Just Amelia. Nova talked about the time Amelia had shown up to Nova's college graduation in a helicopter because she had been in London the night before and refused to miss it. Debbie talked about the first morning she had come to work for Amelia. How Amelia had opened the door herself, no assistant, and had said, I need someone who treats this home like it matters, because it does, and Debbie had known immediately that she would stay as long as she was needed. Eva talked about Paris, the Eiffel Tower, being 7 years old and understanding for the first time what her mother was doing, and why she was always tired. They laughed twice. They were quiet 3 times in the way that meant everyone was feeling the same thing and didn't need to name it. It was the most human 40 minutes Eva had had since the world ended. At 1:15 her phone vibrated. Juan. My father wants to do a call at 3 p.m. your time. Jian Han will also be on the call. There is something they need to tell you together. Eva looked at the message. Eva, what is it? Juan, he didn't tell me everything. But Eva, he looked serious. More serious than usual. She set the phone down. Picked up her fork. Ate 3 more bites of jollof rice because Debbie was watching her with a particular look that meant, you need to eat, baby. And Debbie had earned the right to that look. Then she put the fork down. Eva, I'll be ready at 3. She looked at the kitchen wall. At the photograph of Amelia laughing at the ocean in Cape Town. At the woman she had spent 11 years watching build something extraordinary from the ground up, facing forward always, never showing the weight of it until 11:30 on a Tuesday night with a cold cup of tea and eyes that said goodbye to something. Eva thought about what Baek Joon-ho had said. 12 years is a long time to be patient. She thought about what was on the drive pressed against her hip. She thought about Ji-yeon Han and Chul Soon-kwan and the car that had arrived at the end of her street and the two figures who had stood at either end of the pavement without needing to say a single word. She thought about a 12-year-old boy in Seoul in a deep burgundy sweater who always answered before the second ring. 12 years, Eva thought. Her mother had spent 12 years building something Baek Joon-ho could not touch. 12 years staying 3 steps ahead of a patient, dangerous man who thought that waiting was the same as winning. At 2:58 p.m., Eva sat at her mother's desk. She had changed after lunch, a deep plum long-sleeve dress, simple and structured, with small gold buttons at the cuff. Her braids were pinned up the way her mother used to pin them when she wanted Eva to look like she meant business. The USB drive was in the small interior pocket she had sewn into the dress lining that morning with a needle and thread from Debbie's sewing kit, the kind of practical, invisible preparation her mother had taught her without ever calling it preparation. The laptop was open. The study was warm and still. At 3 p.m. exactly, the screen lit up. Ji-yeon Han appeared first. She was a Korean woman, perhaps mid-50s, with sharp, precise features, silver-streaked hair cut cleanly to her jaw, and the particular composed energy of someone who had spent 30 years in rooms where the stakes were high and had never once lost her footing. She wore a deep teal blazer. Her eyes were warm and direct. "Eva," she said. "Thank you for being on time." "Of course," Eva said. Then Chul soon appeared. Same dark study. Same single lamp. But something about him was different today. The stillness was still there, but it was a different kind of still. Not waiting. Decided. He looked at Eva for a moment without speaking. Then he said, "You look like your mother today." "I'm trying to," Eva said simply. Something moved in his face. "Brief. Real. We have something to tell you," he said. "Ji-yeon and I discussed whether to wait. We decided you have earned the right to know now rather than later." Eva folded her hands on the desk. "Tell me." Ji-yeon leaned forward slightly. "Eva, your mother did not simply document Baek Joon-ho's operation when she left his arrangement 12 years ago. She continued. For 12 years, every piece of information that passed through her distribution network that touched anything connected to Baek, she recorded it. Quietly. Systematically. Without anyone knowing. A pause. What is on that USB drive is not just what she saw 12 years ago. It is everything. 12 years of a complete and unbroken record. Eva stared at her. She was documenting him the entire time. "Yes," Ji-yeon said. She built her company in parallel with building a case. Every year she added to it. Every year the file grew. She never used it because she never needed to. As long as she was alive and the company was thriving, Baek had no move to make. But she always knew the day might come when she would need it. A breath. She just didn't expect that day to come the way it did. Eva was very quiet for a moment. The study held its breath. "She protected me," Eva said finally. Not a question. Not surprise. Just the specific recognition of something she had always known in the wordless way children knew things about their mothers, now finally finding its shape in language. "She protected you," Chul soon said. "Everything she did, the documentation, the legal structures, Ji-yeon, the connection she encouraged between you and Chi-won, all of it was a system she built around you. So that if she was ever gone, you would not be standing alone." Eva pressed her lips together. Held it. Let it pass. "Okay," she said. "What do we do with it?" Chul soon looked at Ji-yeon. Something passed between them, the look of two people who have already discussed the next part and agreed on how to present it. "There is a prosecutor in Seoul," Ji-yeon said. "Her name is Yoon Se-ri. She has been building a case against Baek Joon-ho for 6 years. She has the structure, but she has never had the evidence to make it move. What is on that drive would give her everything she needs." A pause. "We want to get the drive to Se-ri. Securely. Through channels that Baek cannot see or intercept." "How?" Eva asked. "Chi-won will carry it," Chul soon said. Eva went still. "Chi-won. He is already in position. He is the only person Baek's network would not flag as a threat. He is 12 years old and he is my son, and Baek knows that I would never use my son as a carrier. His voice was measured. Which is exactly why it will work. But he would be. Eva stopped herself. Reorganized. Is it safe for him? Chul Soon looked at her steadily. I would not put my son in a situation that was not safe. You have my word on that. With respect, Eva said carefully. You told me last night that your word means something. I'd like to understand exactly what safe looks like before I agree to this. The silence that followed was 3 seconds long. Then Jian made a sound that was almost, not quite, but almost a laugh. Chul Soon looked at Eva with an expression she hadn't seen on him before. Not surprise exactly. Something closer to the look of a man encountering something he hadn't anticipated and finding that he respected it completely. Fair, he said. The same word Chi-Wan had used on the flight. In the dark, across an aisle 11 months ago. She noticed that. She filed it. Chi-Wan will travel with 2 of my people, Chul Soon said. He will not be visible as anything other than a boy accompanying his father's associates on a routine errand. The drive will be on his person for less than 40 minutes. The time between the meeting point and Sari's office. My people will be with him every second. He held her gaze. And I will be on the phone with him the entire time. Eva thought about it. Thought about Chi-Wan, the boy who had tilted his head across an aisle in the dark and said everything with a gesture, who had answered every call before the second ring, who had said always like it was the simplest word in any language. Does Chi-Wan know? She asked. He volunteered, Chul Soon said. I did not ask him. He came to me. Eva looked at her folded hands. At the gold buttons on her cuff. At the desk that smelled like her mother. Okay, she said. But I need to talk to him first. Before we do anything. Of course, Chul Soon said. Chi-Wan appeared on her screen 4 minutes later. He had changed from the burgundy sweater. He was wearing a clean white button-down shirt now, collar open. The kind of deliberate simplicity that was its own kind of preparation. You volunteered, Eva said immediately. Yes. Why? He was quiet for a moment. Not searching for the answer. He already had it. He was deciding how much of it to say out loud. Because it needs to be done, he said finally. And because I can do it. And because, a pause. The almost smile, brief and real. Because your mother spent 12 years building something so that you would never have to stand alone. The least I can do is 40 minutes. Eva looked at him through the screen. At the steady dark eyes that had been looking at her since a night flight to Seoul 11 months ago. Across a lit aisle. With a tilted head and a book he wasn't reading. If anything happens to you, she said, I will never forgive your father. Nothing will happen to me. Chi-Wan. Eva. His voice was quiet and certain. My father has kept me safe my entire life in circumstances considerably more complicated than 40 minutes with a USB drive. Trust him the way your mother trusted him. She exhaled. My mother never met your father. No. But she knew his name. She wrote it in a letter she left in a safe for you to find. He held her gaze. She did her research, Eva. She always did her research. And she trusted what she found. The study was very still. Okay, Eva said. Okay. It will be over by tonight, Chi-Wan said. And then Baek Jun-ho will have nothing. No leverage, no legal structures, nothing. Everything your mother built stays exactly where she built it. A beat. Yours. All of it. Eva looked at the photograph on the study wall. The Cape Town one, the ocean blazing orange, Amelia laughing with her head thrown back. Fully alive in the specific way she only was when nobody needed anything from her. She would have liked you, Eva said. Chi-Wan was quiet for a moment. I would have liked her, he said. Very much. The transfer happened at 7:43 p.m. Seoul time. Eva knew this because Chi-Wan sent her a single message at 7:43 that said only, moving now. And she had been sitting at the kitchen island in her deep plum dress with a cup of tea she wasn't drinking, watching the clock on the microwave, since 6 a.m. Los Angeles time. Debbie sat with her. Not talking. Just present. The specific gift of a person who understood that company and conversation were not the same thing and that sometimes company was enough. Nova had gone to bed at 9. The clock on the microwave said 7:51 p.m. Seoul time. 8 minutes. When Eva's phone lit up. None. She pressed the phone flat against her chest and closed her eyes for exactly 4 seconds. Then she typed back. Eva. Are you okay? Chi-Wan completely. My father is insufferably calm about the whole thing, which is either reassuring or alarming. I haven't decided. She laughed, sudden and real and completely unplanned. Debbie looked up from her tea. Good news, Debbie said. Yes, Eva said. Good news. Debbie nodded, picked up her cup, said nothing else. Perfect. Eva, tell your father thank you. From me. Properly. June, he says you're welcome. Also he says, and I'm quoting directly, tell her Amelia would be proud. Eva stared at the screen, set the phone down, picked it back up. Eva 1. June, yes. Eva. I think I'm going to cry. June, that's allowed. You've been holding it for 3 days. Eva. I don't want to cry at the kitchen island. June. Then go to your room. Cry properly. You've earned it. She smiled, stood, carried her tea to the sink, rinsed the cup the way her mother had always rinsed cups, completely, without leaving anything behind. Debbie, she said. Thank you for staying. Debbie looked at her with the expression she had been saving for exactly this moment, warm and steady and completely unperformed. Baby, she said. There is nowhere else I would be. Eva nodded, walked down the hallway to her purple room, sat on the edge of her bed, and cried, properly, completely, for the full length of everything she had been holding since the morning the world changed. For her mother. For the cold cup of tea in the kitchen and the hands on her face in the hallway and the voice that had said, you are the best thing I have ever made. For the drive and the letter and 12 years of a woman facing forward toward her daughter, always, always, always. She cried until there was nothing left. Then she washed her face, lay down, pulled the blanket up. Her phone lit up one more time. Juan, good night, Eva from Los Angeles. She smiled in the dark. Eva, good night, Juan from Seoul. She closed her eyes. She was woken at 6:19 a.m. by Debbie's voice, not the gentle shoulder touch of 2 mornings ago. This time Debbie was in the doorway, and her voice was doing the thing it had done on the morning the world ended. The thing with no shape, the thing that meant language had stopped being available. Eva. Just her name. Just that. Eva sat up. What happened? Debbie was holding her phone. Her hand was shaking. It's on the news, Debbie said. Eva, it's on every channel. Eva was already standing, already moving, already reaching for her own phone with the particular cold clarity that had become, in 3 days, her default state, the version of herself that her mother had built for exactly this, the version that noticed and held and did not break until it was safe to. She turned on the TV in her room. Every major Korean news network. The same footage, a building in Seoul, early morning, police vehicles outside, figures in official jackets moving with purpose. A name in the ticker at the bottom of the screen. A name she recognized. Baekjunho. She stood in the middle of her purple room in her deep plum dress from yesterday, barefoot, and watched the screen. Her phone rang. Juwon. She answered immediately. Are you watching? He said. Yes. Sairi moved faster than anyone expected. My father didn't even know she would go tonight. She had enough the moment she received the drive. She didn't wait. His voice carried something she had never heard in it before. Not quite emotion, something more disciplined than that, but in the same territory. It's over, Eva. He's in custody. She couldn't speak for a moment. Eva. I'm here, she said. I'm here. It's over, he said again. Quieter. Like he needed to say it twice to make it real for both of them. She sat down on the edge of her bed. Watched the screen. Watched the building in Seoul with the police vehicles and the official jackets and the name in the ticker that had been a shadow over everything for 3 days. Over her mother's last months, over 12 years of careful documentation, over a USB drive that an 11-year-old girl had carried sewn into her dress lining. She won, she said. Yes. My mom did this. She built this. She spent 12 years making sure that when this moment came, it would actually come. Her voice was steady. She made it steady. She won. A pause. She won, Chi-won said. Simply and completely. Eva looked at the photograph on her bedroom wall. The one of Amelia laughing at the ocean in Cape Town. Alive and careless and completely herself. I'm going to build it, Eva said. Quietly. To the room, to the photograph, to the boy across the Pacific, to her mother. Everything she built. I'm going to build it bigger. I'm going to make sure she didn't just win. I'm going to make sure everyone knows she won. Chi-won was quiet for a long moment. Then, I know you will. Will you? She stopped. Started again. Will you still be there? When I'm doing it. The pause was exactly the right length. Eva from Los Angeles, he said, and she could hear the almost smile. The real one, the brief one, the one that meant more than a full smile from anyone else. I have been answering since the first ring. That is not going to change. Outside her window, Los Angeles was beginning its morning. Pale gold light. The city waking up. The ordinary, relentless, indifferent beauty of a world that kept moving even when extraordinary things happened inside it. Eva Jones was 11 years old. She had just watched her mother win from beyond the grave. And across the Pacific, a boy who had tilted his head across a dark aisle and said, I see him too, was still, always on the line. She looked at the city outside her window. Okay, she said softly. Let's go. The morning light came in gold and clean and entirely without ceremony. And somewhere in Los Angeles, in a purple room in a 22-room apartment, something that had been holding its breath for 11 months finally quietly began to breathe. But 3 floors below, in the building's underground parking structure, a phone screen lit up in the dark interior of a car that had been sitting there since before dawn. A message. 4 words. Plan B, begin now. The screen went dark. The car did not move. It was waiting. This has been Black Silk Stories, where every story is a world and every world hits different. Baek Joon-ho is in custody. The drive has been delivered. Eva thinks it's over. But the car in the parking structure didn't get that message. If you are not subscribed, you are going to miss everything that comes next. Subscribe, drop a comment and come back. Because Eva Jones and Chi-won Kwon are only just beginning. And where they are going, you do not want to be left behind.